Hey everyone, it is fairly late in Orlando, just wrapping up day 3 of the John Maxwell International Conference, international certification here, where we had Seth Godin was the keynote speaker for us. And so just want to go through my notes, if that's okay with you, trying to get them all together here. But Seth Godin had this incredible take on the resistance, he called it. He called it the resistance, and the resistance is the voices, right? The voices that you hear internally that allow you to not make decisions. Yes, it's too loud. Right? So the resistance is the voice in your head that's Walter, by the way. Walter is grooming. The resistance is the voice in your head that talks you out of action, right? So the more you think about something, the worse the resistance becomes, because you get fearful of the resistance, right? You get fearful of what other people will think of you. And to be successful, the most successful people on the planet have had more failures than all of us probably combined. The difference is that they don't listen to the resistance. Let me rephrase that. They do listen to the resistance, but they do the opposite. Right? So Seth Godin continued to tell us how as soon as he hears that voice in his head, that's the first thing that he does. He's like, oh, I'm absolutely doing that, because the resistance told me otherwise, right? So, Zig Ziglar taught us the most influential voice you'll hear all day is your own, so be careful what you say to yourself, but also don't take the fear or the counsel of your naysayers, right? So don't take the counsel of your inner thoughts and those fears that gets to that. So that's a little bit more from Seth Godin. I've never heard him or read him, but he's got the most read blog, and you could just basically Google Seth and you'll learn a whole sorts of stuff. And then we rolled on the last couple of days to John Maxwell, and vision is what you say, but the culture of an organization is what you actually see. So I love that, right? Because culture is the framework in which decisions are made and the worst behavior that's tolerated. So I can say we do all these things, but when I walk through the organization, I see a lot other aspects. So John talked a lot about culture. People do what people see. Behavior equals personality, and symbols equal your culture, right? So this is exactly what I see when I walk through, but however you're telling me, or I've got these rules on the wall or these policy manuals, but everybody seems to be doing something different. So culture is a big piece. So John took us through the JNT DNA to that value people, right? Value people. I did some lessons on respect lately, and if you just value people every day, all the time, treat all people with respect all the time is really, really important. Live intentionally, right? So everything worthwhile is uphill. Exceed expectations, grow daily, live a positive attitude, equip people, and lead by example. So it's just some great stuff living in this John Maxwell team. I mean, imagine you got 14,000 people around the world who are certified coaches, and another 2,500 were here getting re-certified this time. So I want to roll to today's pieces. Those were a couple stuff from late afternoon, but today John threw this quote out. He said, when was the last time in your life when is the last time your life made someone else hungry? When was the last time that your life made someone else hungry? So what does that mean? Right? Does that mean making other people jealous of what you have? Or does that mean that you are inspiring other people to be more and do more? So John's whole lessons with us today focus specifically on personal development, right? How important it is to have a personal growth plan. So it's not only John, but also Mark Cole, who's the CEO of all of John's companies, to have a personal development plan. What do you do to growing yourself daily? Because you can't lead anyone until you can lead yourself. So, when John was in his 20s, it was if you read his Good Leaders Ask Great Questions, the most important question in his life that he's ever been asked was, do you have a personal plan for growth? And he saved up for 6 months to buy this a program that was like $700 at the time, and he told us that his annual salary was about $4,800. So he spent $700, almost $800 on his personal growth program. Plus, he paid 2 of the top 10 pastors across the country $100 for 30 minutes of their time, plus his travel expenses. So if you think about 25 to 30% of his annual salary was spent on personal growth that 1 year. You multiply that now, 30 minutes of John Maxwell's time, and you're talking probably $100,000. So what is your personal growth plan? What are you doing on a daily basis? And go ahead, you can use the chat line and tell me what you're doing. What are you using every day? So John has his rule of 5. Every day he reads, every day he writes, every day he thinks, every day he asks questions, and every day he files. So he challenged us in what ours, and I came up with my 3 definitely is every day I read or I listen to some sort of thought leader. Every day I think, and every day I create content. So I'm not necessarily writing, but I'm creating content. And I'm working on filing. I do have a system that's getting better. I got a spreadsheet and index card, box, and I'm, filing, some thoughts, and I'm working on asking better questions on a daily basis. So what are you doing to grow yourself? Because it's all about you, right? If you want to be transformational, it has to start with you. So your personal growth plan should ask and answer 3 questions. Where do you aim to be? Who do you want to grow to? What is your ultimate result? And what are your focus areas? And John specifically talks about to make sure that you're staying within your strength zone. So another question of John was, so when you're going into action, right? I'm going to end with this. When you're going into action to follow these 5 steps, he calls it the cycle of success. Test, fail, learn, improve, and re-enter. Right? So I'm an I, so I'm having a lot of I characteristics, and I's are inspiring and innovative and lots of ideas. So this is easy for me, but this is not as easy for someone who's a little bit more meditative and contemplative, right? To just test, right? You put something out in your test. So like you think of Apple. When Apple launches a telephone, and by the way, did you ever ask yourself the question why you buy a phone from a computer company? Because they're the best, right? But Apple throws out their phone when they know it's nowhere near complete, when it's probably 70 to 80% finished with the product, because they're testing the market, right? So a test, they find out what fails, so that's how they learn, they improve it, and then they resell, right? Apple's got this model down. So how do you do that in the organization that you lead or you work in, or just your life, or with your family, or with anything? Test, fail, learn, improve, and re-enter. So John finished our 3-day session with if I could spend a day with you, right? So John told us some great stories about leaders that he got to spend at least a day with or create a relationship with. And the number one he said is that if you have the opportunity to spend a day with someone, you got to prepare. First of all, never say no, and if you have time to prepare, make sure you have a lot of questions. So he talked specifically about his time with John Wooden and Zig Ziglar and a couple other pastors. So he said, when the opportunity appears, buy the ticket, right? Buy the ticket. So he said, develop a personal definition of success for me. So if we were spending the day with John, this is what he would share with us. Develop a personal definition of success for yourself. Make sure you select your inner circle carefully, right? Because you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Number 3 was to work on your gifts. So you need to understand what your purpose is in life. The 2 greatest days in someone's life is the day that they're born, and the second is the day that they find out why, right? So what are your gifts? What is your purpose? Find and follow the rule of 5, right? So I've already talked about the 5 that John does. So what are your rule of 5 that you need to do every day? And remember, John's was read, write, ask questions, think, and file. Right? What is your rule of 5? Improve your thinking. James Allen said that everybody, man wants to improve their circumstances, but they don't necessarily want to change themselves. And what we think about is who we are, right? So your thoughts drive everything, whether it's your processes and your and just anything. So what you think about is what you do, right? So if you think positive thoughts, you'll be a positive person. If you think doom and gloom, you'll be more negative. Okay. If you think everybody's out to get you, then everybody's out to get you. And every day we add value to the next generation. So not only the people around you, but specifically the next generation, because you want to leave a legacy that lives, beyond your time, right? There's no greater joy than giving your best to the next generation. And that was John. So if we spend a day with him, those would be the 6 things that he would teach us how to do. And so we, as an organization, are going to be leading some mastermind groups on John's work. He's got two books that have come out over the last 2 years. One is Intentional Living, and the second is this great book called No Limits. It's about building capacity. So stay tuned for some opportunities to join those mastermind groups. And I trust that you will spend your Thursday being intentional and focused on what's most important in your life. Thanks.